Good people on the quest for good content. Welcome back to another installment of Song of the Week here on Good People Content channel. I'm one of your hosts for this segment, Bill Farrow, here with the master of the channel himself, the man who can build a building in a day, Jordan Bell. Jordan, how we doing?
Bill, I am great, my friend. I am excited to talk about some good music, man. It's been another good week out here in the DMV. Been a lot of good music playing on my car stereo, in my apartment while I'm in the shower, and I'm pumped. I'm excited about some good music, man. How are you doing?
Hey, man, smooth sailing through calm seas over on my end. I was spinning a lot of oldies this week, and so I guess I kind of kept that lower tempo. I was feeling relaxed, serene, the whole nine, so yeah, a lot of the vinyls got cracked open this week, which is pretty cool to see, or I guess cool to hear. So yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I like it, man. Question: You made me think of this when you mentioned oldies. What music did your parents listen to growing up?
Everything under the sun that was of their time. So
Okay.
you name them, we probably have a record of them. From the big ones like the Temptations to I mean, the Whispers are pretty well known, but like the medium-sized ones, the Whispers, down to, like the Manhattans, like I mentioned in some prior episodes, to full-length James Brown, because that's my second favorite artist of all time, to Sam Cooke, to Patti LaBelle, to Anita Baker, I guess all the oldies you really find in a lot of black households in America, man.
Yeah.
I didn't actually start listening to hip hop till I was like 13 or 14, just because oldies were always spinning. Everything from the Spinners to the OJs to, you name them, we probably spun it at some point, especially at house parties,
Did your parents listen to Prince and Michael Jackson, or were they one of those black households that were one or the other?
So my mama's favorite artist is Michael Jackson. So
Okay.
that just always got spun, but there was never an either or rhyme or reason. Good music was just good music, so we always just tried to play good music, when we could.
So my parents were both more Michael Jackson people than Prince. So like when I think about music that I listened to growing up, I think of a lot of J5 and I think of a lot of Michael Jackson. Like one of my first travel memories with my mother is we went to Detroit for a weekend when I was a kid. And growing up in Cleveland, Detroit, from Cleveland to Detroit is like maybe 2 hours. And that year for Christmas, amongst other things, my mom bought me this Jackson 5 Ultimate Collection CD. And I think the other album that she bought me, actually, I know the other album that she bought me was Bad. And so Detroit was like a 2 CD trip, right? Because this is back in the day when CDs were like an hour to an hour 15.
Yeah.
And you could just find something to spin. And so that first trip to Detroit that I vividly remember, we listened to the Jackson 5 Ultimate Collection CD, which was like 25 cuts. And then we listened to Michael Jackson Bad. And like those are some of my early music memories, right? Like a lot of MJ, a lot of Funkadelic, a lot of Marvin Gaye, like Motown, like heavy Motown.
Yeah, Marvelettes,
Yes.
Diana Ross and the Supremes. It's funny that you mentioned Michael Jackson on the plane, because my first vivid memory of listening to a CD was Off the Wall on a plane on repeat. And that's why it's my favorite Michael Jackson album, probably. I also think it's his best album. I know Thriller is Thriller, but unpopular opinion,
Yeah, no, that's another one of the albums. So, like I said, that Christmas, my mom brought me Bad, the Jackson 5 Ultimate Collection, and then I had Off the Wall as a kid. I don't remember if she gave it to me on that Christmas. That's an incredible album. It's an underrated album. That could be a debate for another day, right? We could do a whole episode debating Michael Jackson's best albums. But Thriller was not the Michael Jackson album that I grew up listening. Like when I think of Mike, I don't think of Thriller, right? Now, obviously that's Mike's most famous album. It's what made Mike in a lot of ways.
Still the greatest selling album of all time. Hold on.
Of course, right? It's the album of
maybe American pop music.
Yeah, American pop music for sure. But it's not the one that I think of. It's not the one that, or I shouldn't say think of, because you obviously think of Thriller when you think of Mike, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I'm glad that to hear you say that, because there's something about being an artist who's basically a once in a species artist is how I'll describe it.
Once in a lifetime doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, because this man was like treading on waters of being like approaching like Jesus levels of like notoriety
Yeah.
and fame. Pre-internet being known in villages across the world, pre-internet being able to get drug lords who hold dominion over certain territories to basically clear the streets so he can record music videos. Once in a species artist, man. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it again. Frankly, I hope we never do, because that kind of exposure, I don't think people are meant to tolerate, which is a conversation for another time, man. But crazy.
And that's, do you think Michael Jackson's the most famous person ever?
Uh,
I know I'm putting you on the spot right now,
no,
but
I, it would be hard for me to say yes, because there were emperors back in the day who,
right. Listen,
who
in modern society,
in modern society,
yeah,
he's on the short list, you know. But you got to
yeah,
think about all the different. You got to think about academia. You got to think about pop culture. You got to think about
sure.
political climate. You got to think about like. But he's up there. There's something to be said about pre-internet being able to go to different countries around the world and having the leaders of those countries accommodate and like clear out anything on your behalf.
His funeral is probably the first funeral that I watched on
Yeah.
television.
My mom cried
Right?
for like 3 days.
Yeah, I remember where I was when he died. I was actually in Worcester, Ohio, where we went to school. For those that don't know, but I was in Worcester, Ohio. I remember very specifically where I was, and then again, I remember watching it on TV. Like that. That's the first funeral that I can maybe, and maybe there was other people who's
Princess
I just
Diana
don't
get
remember
one
as vivid.
on TV?
I'm sure she did, but I don't know if
Yeah,
I
you
watched
said
it.
it's your
You know what
memory,
I
right?
mean?
But
Yeah, that's the first one that I remember watching on TV, and like it being relatively normal that I was going to watch this guy's funeral on television.
yeah, and almost like expected, right? Because
Yeah,
like, oh, the icon passed. You know what I mean? Him
yeah,
and Prince have a really interesting rivalry. Obviously, it feels more rooted in respect than like envy and jealousy. One of my favorite little
of
anecdotes
course.
is Mike would wake up in the middle of the night because he got inspiration or an idea for a song, and he would immediately go to his studio to record it because he was afraid that God would give the idea to Prince if he didn't record it ASAP. I just think that's the level of talent and respect you probably have to have for your opposition. It's like the combatant's code, right? It's Muhammad
Yeah,
Ali is out of work for 3 years because he's sitting out of the Vietnam War. And Joe Frazier pulls him into his limo one day and gives him $1,000 because he's stretched for cash.
yeah,
It's like things like that. It's pretty
for sure.
human beings, and pursuing mastery and reaching the highest levels of your talent probably gives you a pretty interesting life.
Absolutely. The reason I asked also is my family wasn't a Prince family, right? So like my mother really liked Prince, but we didn't listen to a ton of Prince. I didn't start really listening into Prince until I got older and I met other people that were really into Prince, which I just always found that interesting. And I felt like there were some black households where it was like you're either one or the other. And then, like you said, they kind of had this rivalry may not be the right word, but there was definitely some competitive energy between the two of them. Have you seen the We Are the World documentary?
Yeah. Yeah. That really puts into
Fantastic.
perspective on how much control Lionel Richie had for somebody we weren't born then. That dude, that dude was like the conduit. I had no idea he was like the center of the music world at that time, to be able to just
Yeah,
effortlessly get all those people in.
orchestrated the whole thing, dude. This hold on. I don't remember where I bought this at. I think I bought this at a record store in
Mm,
Memphis. But this is the We Are the
man, how
World
about that?
original vinyl. Isn't that awesome?
That's that's
That's
crazy. A
sick,
little
right?
bit of American history, man.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't even remember where I'm pretty sure I got that at a record store on Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee when I was living out
Man, how
there.
about that?
And I wish I had a better way to like, because I have all the records in my background. I wish I had a better way to like blow this image up because I think this is the dopest one that I have,
Mm.
but from afar you can't
Yeah,
really
you
tell
can't.
what it
Yeah, yeah.
is.
It's just a
But
bunch of
like,
folks together.
man, it's just an awesome picture with like Stevie hugging Diana Ross, and you got Ray Charles, you got Quincy Morgan. Like, I mean, the list goes on. But shouts out to Mike and Prince. But if you haven't watched the We Are the World documentary, you should check that out
Yeah, that's a must watch for any music fan.
for
We could
sure.
obviously go down the rabbit hole of music all day, but as we're building this part of the channel out, y'all are here for suggestions to see where our mind's at, see where our spirit's at as we're listening. Jordan, you want to give your song this week, or you want me to kick it off?
No, I can get us
Cool.
started. So I have been in a weightlifting, like I've talked about it a few times now, but I'm back into my running mode. So I'm getting back into the gym a little bit. And this is a bad segue, but I listen to a lot of, pump up music when I'm lifting. And I got into some 50 Cent the other day, and I decided to kind of take it back. And I went back and listened to Get Rich or Die Trying.
Super
And
classic.
so, man, classic, classic, classic album. That's 02, 03,
3.
50? 03. Yeah, that's 03, 50, 50's debut album. If we have young listeners that haven't bumped that album yet, go ahead and check that one out. And again, as everyone knows who's been paying attention now, Def, Taxes, and J Bell loving a rap song with an R&B hook.
Always.
So my song of the week is 21 Questions by
Yes.
50 Cent and Nate Dogg.
Perfect song.
It's just a banger. It's also maybe one of the first songs that we've mentioned that I can rap verse for verse. I absolutely love this song. I love the music video. Shouts out to Megan Good.
One of the all-timers.
One of the all timers, man. And this is peak 50, dog. Like this is when 50 had it. This is right. This might be the second single off of that album, right? The
That
first would
sounds
have
right.
been the first would have been
In the club.
what's the name? In the club. And then this might have been it was probably either this or Mini Men.
Many
was
Men,
this,
or I remember Wangsta getting spun
yeah,
for a
Wangsta
little
might have
bit.
been second.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many classic cuts in
Man,
that album.
that song, or excuse me, that album, like, it's classic album, what is, what isn't. There's more classics than I think people think, but there's less classics like in the history of the genre. That's like a super
Yeah.
classic. If I can coin a
Yeah.
term that I've been pushing to you and David for a little bit, there's like an upper echelon of like classics amongst classics, and that is maybe like the first or second or third post 2000s example that I remember as a kid being like, this is gonna shift everything. And I was like 12
Yeah.
at the time. You know what I mean? I was like, what? What it? The man got shot 9 times and he's alive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, 50 was like an action figure, right?
Yeah.
And then, at least for me, I'm a year or two older than you, so I didn't know mixtape 50. So my introduction
Beast.
to 50 is him dropping from the ceiling
Yep.
and doing the In the Club music video. And then from that moment on, he was the most popular rapper in the world, right? Like he was the guy. And so this album was on fire. And like I said, man, Def, Taxes, and J Bell loving an R&B hook. You got a classic Nate Dogg hook.
Rest in peace.
And then you got some good 50 verses. Like I said, I could probably rap these verses line for line. I'm not going to because I don't want to embarrass myself. But that's going to be my pick, man. It's going to be 21 Questions, 50 Cent and Nate Dogg.
Just believe J Bell when he says he can and will do something. So we won't put him on the spot to rap. Actually, I do want to ask you a rap, or like a verse related question to that song. What's your favorite
Okay.
verse off that song? And and to narrow it down even more, what's your favorite bar off that song?
My favorite bar is definitely what is it? You know I love you like a fat kid love cake. You know my style. I do anything to make you smile.
Classic.
And that's probably my favorite verse. And that's either the second or third verse. I want to say.
It's the last one. Yeah.
I think it's the third verse. Yeah. You know I love you like a fat kid love cake. Or what? It's to make it up. I do whatever it takes. You know I love you like a fat kid loves cake. You know my style. I say anything to make you smile. And then you hit it with the Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
I can be the Nate Dogg for that. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, man, that's gonna be my song of the week. 21 Questions, 50 Cent.
Man, good pick.
You net.
Yeah. Oh, God, they were everywhere, man. Action figures, clothing lines, references on Chappelle's show. Man.
Did you have any of the stuff? Did you have G Unit sneakers? Any of that stuff?
Nah.
I had a G Unit T-shirt.
Oh, boy.
That was about as far as I got. But my mom wasn't picking up the G Unit Reeboks.
Yeah, I remember my dad knew about them, but he wasn't like, hey, bro, like, I'm from South Side of Chicago. Your mom was from the West Side. We are not. We moved to the North Side for education and some other things. So, like,
Yeah, for sure. We're staying away from that.
we're happy that he's successful and making it, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You can spin the record. That's about it. So
You can get some vitamin water.
yeah, exactly. That's actually a reference I made in one of the first songs I ever recorded, which is actually pretty funny. Um, so anyway, rabbit hole and tangent aside, I'll hit you with my song, lesser known artist, as I tend to occasionally do in the early portions of Song of the Week. My song of the week is Oxford Circus by Frex. What I love about this song is it is just simple. It is a guitar, it is a drum, it is great vocals, and it's a love song, and it properly portrays, I think last week I talked about the Manhattans, Am I Losing You, like the aches and pains of losing somebody. This is just
Hmm.
like the serene calmness and I guess like the heart rate lowering comfort that you find when you're with somebody who just makes sense. And I think that first 30 seconds of the song is like perfect music. I think the opening lines, go listen to it. I won't spoil it for you. I just think it is like masterful songwriting, and she did a really good job putting all that together. She's a lesser known artist. I think that's her most popular song. It came out in 2022. But man, whenever I'm feeling like I just want to float for a little bit and have all those familiar emotions that where you feel strongly about something or someone, that's a song that usually finds its way up my list. And I just want to make sure we're always showing a little bit of shine to artists who maybe have not cracked all the way through yet. So, Oxford Circus, Song of the Week, Frex, 2022. Be sure to give it a listen.
All right. How'd you stumble upon that one?
This is actually funny. TikTok. She came up on my
Nice.
algorithm and she was promoting the song. And at that time, she only had the guitar riff, if I remember correctly. And
Okay.
that first portion of the song was like half written, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was complete. But she was playing it in the background. So I looked her up and the song wasn't released, as is the new way to market music these days. People, we got to get past this. You know what I mean? We got to have the songs complete if you're going to market them. Don't
Right.
play a great 15-second clip and not have it loaded in the chamber for us. That's taking money out of your pocket. Topic for another
Yeah.
time. But I just remember checking every week to see if she had released it. And then when she finally did, I think you told me it has like 26 million views when you were queuing it up. I
Yeah.
might have like 2 million of those. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just get into the mode and I'm like everybody else. Sometimes you just need to spin a song for 24 hours straight before it gets out of your system. But that song always finds its way back. So yeah.
The song that we did, or that I did last week, I should say, the Tiana Taylor, "You Gonna Love
Yeah.
Me." That one's one of those for me. Sometimes, like I'll have a car ride and I'll bump that for like 20 minutes of the car ride. Like I'll just keep it on loop and I'll just jam out to that one for a second. So I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that song. So be sure to go check it out. But that's my song of the week, Jordan. Please, master of the channel, take us home.
All right, I got you. So this is Song of the Week. Again, I am your co-host Jordan. To my left is our co-host Bill. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. The link to the Song of the Week is posted in the bio, or the description, I should say, of the YouTube video. Until next time, this is Song of the Week, and we're gone. Peace.